Hello, and welcome to the Cognitive Benefits of High-Intensity Interval Training. My name is Pete McCall, and I'm a lead master trainer for Stairmaster. What we're going to go through today is look at the effects of aging and cognitive decline, because we know that we're all getting a little bit older every day, right? And that affects numerous systems in our body, especially the way our brain functions and our ability to think and process information. We're going to review the general benefits of HIIT, high-intensity interval training. We know there are a number of health benefits, but we overlook the fact that there are also cognitive or brain health benefits. And that's exactly what we're going to look at. We're going to look at how HIIT impacts brain health. And then finally, we're going to take a look at some programming solutions. So let's go ahead and get started. First, out of the total U.S. population, we can see that the risk of developing Alzheimer's and other cognitive-based diseases increases exponentially with age. And that's very important because what we're finding, what we're learning, is that exercise can slow down the onset of diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. One of the reasons why we see it growing exponentially as people get older is possibly, we don't know for sure, a lack of physical activity as people age. As people age, there's less and less interest in being physically active. And if they are physically active, they're probably not doing it at an extremely high intensity. And that's one of the things that science is now starting to realize is we're understanding all the additional benefits that intensity has on the human body. For years we've known that exercise has been good for us, but we're now understanding that it benefits everything, all the systems in our body, all the tissues in our body. It's not just limited to one or two parts of the body. It's limited to not limited, but it includes everything. Let's take a look at the growth of the population. As we can see, obviously our population is getting older. And as we get older, cognitive issues, cognitive diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's are going to have a greater effect on our members. They're on the members that come into your clubs and take your classes and take your programs. And here's the thing, as a club operator, as a club owner, you can provide programming solutions to meet this need. Because you may not be able to provide medical interventions, but as you're going to see in this webinar, there are numerous ways that programming can have an impact on people's health. Not just the typical health that we know, cardiorespiratory function, managing a body weight, but overall entire body health. But first, let's take a look at who's coming into your clubs. This is from the Physical Activity Council Participation Report in 2017. And if you look down below, people, the generation baby boomers, people born between 1945 and 1964, right now, well, according to this data, about 60% of that population, 60% of people who are baby boomers are working out. They're exercising. And when you look at the rates, look at their participation levels, individual sports, racket sports. Look at the numbers of Gen X. Look, you have 60%, 66% of Gen Xers. The oldest part of Gen X are now in their 50s. The youngest part of Gen X are in their 40s. So if we look at Gen X and baby boomers, these are the populations that are going to be looking at, they're the ones going head first into aging. We're the ones right now, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm going to include myself in this. We're the ones right now looking at how does exercise benefit all components of health. Here's another statistic showing how many people are engaged in exercise on an average day. This was, estimated between 2003 and 2015. The green line are those ages 55 and over. And you can see that there's a good amount of participation. What is this showing? The reason I'm showing you this is we have people out there. There's a large percentage of people out there exercising. However, just doing some exercise, doing some physical activity isn't enough to get all the benefits. That's where high-intensity interval training comes in. And I'm going to talk about the benefits of that. And when we look at HIIT, HIIT is popular. You have all these programs. You have studios that are blowing up. Barry's Boot Camp, Orange Theory, F45. These are probably some of your biggest competitors. Why do people like them? Because of the programming, because of the high energy programming. You can do the same thing in your facility if you understand how to program. If your trainers, if your staff, if your coaches understand how to use the science to create efficient, effective, high-intensity interval training programs. And this is the reality. The top chart you see there, the top graph you see there, that is the way that HIIT is supposed to be done. And let's take a step back. Athletes have been doing HIIT for almost a century now. It was first developed by Scandinavian, Finnish, Norwegian runners who understood that they didn't always need to run to get the benefits. They realized years ago, I think it was in the 1930s, that if they did intervals, they could actually be more efficient with their track training. So we've been looking at interval training for years, especially high-intensity interval training for years, as a function of performance. It's only been the last maybe 10 or 15 years where HIIT, high-intensity interval training, has been looked at as a solution for health needs. And there's Martin Gabala's lab out of Canada, specifically McMaster University, who's really been looking at it. So some of the data we have on HIIT is coming from the athletic population, but recently in the last number of years, we've been getting a lot more data on the benefits of HIIT for the deconditioned and sedentary populations. And yes, there are a lot of benefits. But when we look at the top graph, that's the way that HIIT should be done. You have a lot of work in a short period of time, but then you have active recovery. Because when you're doing a very high intensity work interval, that's very stressful on the body. You're depleting the available energy in the muscles. That's why you need a recovery period. The recovery interval, your body will metabolize the hydrogen ions, lactic acid, and other metabolic byproduct, but it's also going to replace the glycogen and replace the ATP for energy. So think of it like your cell phone. If you watch a lot of video on your cell phone, you're going to drain your battery pretty quickly. That's what you're doing during a high-intensity interval. Doing a high-intensity interval is like watching video on your cell phone. You're going to run out of energy quickly. So the bottom graph, that depicts, this is where most high-intensity interval programs are now. There's not enough recovery, so what happens during the workout is your members, the participants, start getting into fatigue. And when fatigue happens, it significantly increases the risk of injury. So if you want to make sure you have programming solutions that meets the need of all your clients, of all your members, of all your customers, you need to understand how to have the right application. Your HIIT program should look like the top chart and not the bottom one. Because the way I coach HIIT, the way I try to get people thinking about HIIT, is your last rep should be just as strong as your first rep. You should be getting enough recovery so that every rep you can put out the same amount of intensity, the same amount of work rate. That's one of the reasons why all the Stairmaster equipment have consoles on it, so we can measure and quantify work. Let's take a look at the components of function. If you look at the components of function, we need muscular strength, we need cardiorespiratory efficiency, mobility. Now, mobility means you can control your body through space. Movement efficiency means your body you have control, you have coordination. That ties into the neuromuscular benefits. And finally, we have the cognitive benefits. There's always been that stereotype of the dumb guy at the gym, the big meathead. But what we're starting to realize is that exercise, especially high-intensity exercise, is really good for our brain. It's really good for helping our brain grow as well as other systems in the body. So let's look at some general benefits of HIIT. These are the reasons why high-intensity interval training programs are so popular. Obviously, one of the number one issues is weight loss, weight management. People want to try to get rid of excess body weight. Second one, everybody that walks into one of your facilities, I can guarantee that their top two goals is they want to lose weight and tone up, right? I mean, if we had a nickel for every time we heard that from somebody walking to one of our clubs, we'd probably all be retired right now. But those are general benefits. People understand that, cardiorespiratory health. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the research. One of the things people like about HIIT is it's challenging, it's enjoyable. And what we're finding, what some of the data is starting to show, is our members, they want those shorter workouts. They want 20 to 30-minute workouts that kick their butt and they go on their way. They want to know that the work they're doing is having an effect. And there's plenty of evidence to support that HIIT does that. Now, some of the specific benefits of HIIT are muscular growth. Because of the high-intensity work, the nature of the high-intensity work, it stimulates the type 2 muscle fibers. Type 2 muscle fibers are responsible for hypertrophy and muscle definition. Hypertrophy just means muscle growth. So then you have to look at motor unit recruitment. Motor units are it's how the nervous system interacts with the muscle fibers. So the motor neuron comes into the muscle fibers. That's what's called a motor unit, the neuron and the fibers. And those are activated through higher intensity exercise. High intensity exercise will activate more type 2 motor units. If you have classes where people are doing light weights and high repetitions and they're doing a high volume of work, they're not necessarily stimulating the type 2s. It takes intensity. It takes either load or weight. It takes force. It takes speed, power to activate the type 2s. And what happens over the aging process is type 2 motor units, if they're not used, they decline. They won't activate them to turn on when people need them. And that can be one of the reasons why older adults fall, is if they start to lose their balance, they don't have that reactivity. They don't have the reflexes and the speed of the muscles to be able to catch them, to be able to maintain their balance. Motor skill development. If you're doing a lot of high-intensity interval training, you're moving in a lot of different directions. You're improving your ability to move. Energy metabolism. The way your body uses energy. It improves mitochondrial density. Mitochondrial density is essential for cellular health. The mitochondria are the powerhouses of the type 1 muscle fibers. They use oxygen to create energy. And what we're starting to see is that if we want to slow down the aging process, anything that we can do to improve mitochondrial density can help to really slow down and mitigate the effects of biological aging. Also, HIIT training improves buffering. It delays fatigue. As you do high-intensity interval training, that burning that you feel in your muscles, that's an accumulation of hydrogen ions and lactic acid. What your body can do is buffer that or learn how to work through that to limit fatigue so you can work at a higher intensity for longer. Other benefits include the body will produce. Men will produce more testosterone. Women will produce more growth hormone. Testosterone and growth hormone are responsible for growing muscle tissue. So that's where high-intensity interval training can help your members, especially or even your older members, increase lean muscle mass. Research is pretty unequivocal or pretty consistent to show that older adults over the age of 60, 70, and 80 can still add muscle if they train with the appropriate intensity. And older adults in their 70s, 80s, and above will also produce testosterone and growth hormone in response to exercise, but it needs to be high-intensity exercise. The catecholamines, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, they all work with the increased force production, energy availability. They're also related to stress. Epinephrine and norepinephrine are commonly called adrenaline because they're produced from the adrenal cortex. They help release energy into the body. Cortisol is a stress hormone that helps release energy into the body. High-intensity interval training trains the body how to A, produce these stress hormones, and B, deal with them. And that's a big issue for your older members. One of the reasons for heart attacks and one of the reasons for myocardial infarction in times of stress is the heart can't handle the need to pump at a faster rate to produce the energy the body needs. So if you have members in your facility doing higher intensity workouts, their body can handle that stress when it needs to. So we see all the benefits of it. Let's take a look at how fitness happens. So first, exercise at its base, exercise is stress on the tissue. It's stress on the body. If you're running, you're putting one type of stress on the body. If you're lifting weights, you're putting a different type of stress. If you're doing martial arts dance, all that is mechanical stress put on the body. And those are the two different types of stress. Mechanical stress is force applied to the body. If you lift a weight, if your body hits the ground, if your hand hits a pad, whatever's happening, mechanical stress is force applied to the body. When mechanical force is applied to the body, it can create damage in the muscle fibers, and that initiates the repair process. You have satellite cells that can repair the muscle fibers, you have satellite cells that can repair the connective tissue, and then you increase production of growth hormone, testosterone, and mechanical growth factor to help repair all that. That's where mechanical loading comes in. Metabolic overload now, this happens a lot during HIIT. Metabolic overload is going to energy depletion. Metabolic overload means you are depleting the muscle cells of available energy. So we have two types of overload that initiates change in the body. We have mechanical overload, which is the amount of mechanical force applied to the body. And then we have metabolic overload. And metabolic overload is taking the body fatigue, depleting the available energy. Both of those types of overload cause muscle growth in the body. Now, here's the thing. Researchers don't know which one is more important. They don't. Because anytime you do mechanical loading on the body, there's a metabolic impact. Anytime you do metabolic fatigue on the body, there's a mechanical impact. So we don't know which is more important, but what we do know is that both mechanical and metabolic stress initiate changes in the body. That comes down to the SAID principle, that's specific adaptations to impose demands. The body will adapt to the way that's used. That's one of the things that most of the members, the biggest mistake made by members, and those of us who have been in this business, we know this. The biggest mistake made for members is doing the same exercises at the same intensity over and over and over again. Now, it's been years. I moved out of the Mid-Atlantic area in 2006. I used to work in downtown D.C. I guarantee you I could walk into one of the clubs I used to work in and still see the same people on the same pieces of equipment at the same time doing very similar intensity. We all know what that's like. If we want to help our members get results they want, we have to become proficient at challenging them to work harder. Because if they're always doing the same thing, there's no adaptation to their body. But we need to challenge them to work harder. Now, here's the thing. That doesn't mean work harder every day. We have to have a way to put it all together. Because what we know is that once people get over the age of 35 or 40, it takes longer to recover from high-intensity exercise. People over the age of 35 or 40 should probably be doing no more than 2 or 3 HIIT workouts a week. People over the age of 35 or 40 should be doing no more than 2 or 3 HIIT workouts a week because of the stress on the body. Now, if they have good nutrition, they have good sleep, they have good rest, all that, they could maybe get away with doing 3 or 4, but we know the reality, that doesn't happen. So one of the things that you can do is try to coach your members on, hey, do the appropriate level. Let's look at, a lot of the people come to the gym and they do the same thing over and over again. What happens? The body stops changing. But in the right HIIT workout, the right types of HIIT workout, you're challenging the members to do different movements. You're challenging them to move at different speeds, different intensities. That's variability. And one of the things that we're starting to see is that variability, challenging the body to do different types of work at different intensity, is better for adaptations. That creates more adaptations. So that's how fitness happens. Let's take a look at specifically how HIIT happens. We have to look at exercises being energy expensive, right? That's what a lot of our members want to come in and do. And that's the interesting thing. That's sort of the split in the research, right? Is that for years, the research on HIIT was looking at performance. Performance training is all about energy conservation. You're trying to conserve your energy so you can complete 10K, 26 miles, whatever the event might be. But in our environment, in health clubs and commercial fitness centers, we are trying to make exercise very energy expensive. And that's exactly what HIIT does. You're doing a lot amount of work. You're depleting ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate. That's the actual chemical that muscles burn for energy. So when you do a lot of work, you're depleting ATP. So what's the body have to do? It has to get rid of the metabolic byproduct. Think of hydrogen ions, that's H++ and lactic acid. Hydrogen ions are like trash. Your body is going to eliminate those from the bloodstream, and you're going to get rid of those through sweat and through urine. But then lactic acid is like it goes back in the recycling center. That enters into, it goes into a couple different areas, but lactic acid can be converted back into ATP. So here's the thing. Your body, during a high-intensity interval workout, the body's expending a tremendous amount of energy, not only during the work interval, but during the active recovery interval. Because during the active recovery interval, the body is using energy to clear out the metabolic byproduct and to replace the energy spent during the last work interval. That's why the recovery intervals are so critical. Take a look at some of your high-intensity interval programming. If you have coaches out there that are having your members go for a minute and only giving them 10 or 15 seconds to recover, the science does not support that. There's no evidence out there to suggest that that's an appropriate way to do high-intensity interval training. Again, high-intensity interval training, the benefit is the higher the intensity, the better results on the body. Higher, shorter intensity. So what's happening is that's the energy. Your body's using energy to replace energy. It has to replace the free fatty acids. It has to replace the glycogen during the work interval. Let's take a look at effort levels. This is one of the things I hear a lot from different instructors. Go hard. Okay. Well, what's hard mean? What's that mean? What does intensity mean? What we want to be able to do is coach people to be able to work at a high intensity, but at the same time, because if you look on this chart, if you look on this slide right here, you can see anaerobic should be a very, very limited amount of our work. Because when you go anaerobic, you can barely breathe. If you're working moderate or easy, you can breathe very comfortably. And working at a moderate rate of intensity, you can talk relatively comfortable. You could have a conversation with a friend or with somebody in the class. As soon as you start working hard and anaerobic, though, that's going to limit the body's availability. That's going to limit oxygen's availability in the body. And I'm going to go into that in a second. But these are the areas of effort. When you have your coaches coach a high-intensity interval class, you want them to coach the members to be either hard or anaerobic. But on the flip side of that, you want to give the members time in easy or the moderate zones, because that's where the recovery is. That's where they're recharging the cell phone. That's where they're recharging the batteries. They're replacing the glycogen. They're eliminating the hydrogen ions. You're letting people get back into work. So here is the basic physiological response. This is something called the talk test. So what happens when you look at the vertical line? If you look at the graph there in the bottom of the slide, the vertical line is the volume of oxygen per minute. That's the liters per minute. The horizontal is the work intensity. That's the level of difficulty. So when you see, when it's relatively easy, the body's using oxygen. But that first VT, that VT1, that's the ventatory threshold. What that is that's where the body is working hard enough. The work rate increases to the point of where the body needs to produce energy quicker. So rather than using oxygen and free fatty acids for fuel, which take longer, the body will start using carbohydrate for fuel, which takes much shorter. And carbohydrate can either be turned into ATP with or without oxygen. So at VT1, that's where the body switches from being aerobic to anaerobic. And what happens at VT1 is the body's burning more carbohydrate. So when the body burns more carbohydrate, it expires more CO2, carbon dioxide, through the lungs. So when work rate goes up, when intensity goes up, and your body, the working muscles start going into carbohydrate metabolism or glycolysis. Glycolysis is a breakdown of glycogen into ATP. So when the body starts going into glycolysis, one of the things that's going to happen is a higher level of CO2 production. So breathing is going to get quicker to expel the CO2. That's why VT1 can be identified with the talk test. If your members can talk, they're below VT1. If your members can only say 1 or 2 words or a couple words at a time, they can, yeah, I'm feeling good, or, whew, that's really hard, and that's all they can say, they're probably between VT1 and VT2. Above VT2, OBLA is the onset of blood lactate. That's when the muscles are really burning. So when you go above VT2, what's happening is you only have a very finite, limited amount of supply of energy. You can only stay there for a little bit, 10, 15, 20 seconds at a time. Then the body needs to come back down below VT1 to get the oxygen back in and reduce and get rid of the metabolic byproduct. That's the basic physiology of aerobic or cardiorespiratory training. It should be cardiorespiratory training, because cardiorespiratory can either be aerobic with oxygen or anaerobic without oxygen. But that gives you an idea. When we do our HIIT intervals, we want the work intervals to be at VT2 or above for a brief period of time, anywhere from 10 to 40 seconds, no more than 40 seconds. And then we can do our recovery intervals down below VT1 where people can breathe comfortably. One way to do that is just really monitor people. And as a coach, coaches should feel free, is if a coach sees that somebody hasn't recovered yet, the coach should feel comfortable to say, hey, you know what, I want you to take the next work interval off. Because we want everybody to be successful. We want everybody in the class to be successful. And we want to minimize the risk of injury. So it's very important to pay attention to that. Now I'm going to shift gears here. I'm going to talk about, so that's how high-intensity interval training, some of the ways that high-intensity interval training affects the body. Now let's look at aging. We saw all those aging statistics and see the population that are coming into the club. They're not getting younger. These are all the processes, these are all the physiological processes affected by aging. The skeletal system, our bones could become weaker. The nervous system doesn't work as efficiently. Our immune system goes down. Vestibulars are balanced. Temporal is timing. Your walking and running is all rhythm and timing. Muscular strength, endocrine, are the hormones produced. Cardiorespiratory, obviously oxygen in, CO2 out. And finally, cognitive. That's one of the most often overlooked benefits of fitness, right? It's cognitive, it's the ability to brain. Nobody walks in. I bet you the next time you're in your facility, nobody's walking into the gym on a Monday high-fiving their buddies going, hey, it's brain day today. Today I'm doing my cognitive training. But what we're realizing is that exercise has a tremendous influence on the brain. And that's one of the ways that happens is with the endocrine system. So let's look at endocrine, or the hormones. These are the chemicals your body produces in response to stimulus in the body. There's a stress-stimulus response. Stress is a stimulus, and there's a response to the body. Cortisol is a hormone that can mobilize free fatty acids. It's a stress hormone. It's good. Cortisol has some good functions, right? It's a good hormone because it releases energy for exercise. Where cortisol gets a bad name is that if you become stressed and you're not exercising, say you get a moment of stress, your cortisol levels go up. Well, cortisol is going to release free fatty acids into your bloodstream. Now, if you're not exercising, those free fatty acids aren't going to be used for energy. They're going to be redeposited into the abdominal viscera. That's why, during periods of stress, cortisol gets a bad name because it releases energy from the body, but then that energy has to be used. Now, look at growth hormone. Growth hormone is a peptide hormone. That means it works on the membrane of the cell. It helps promote uptake of amino acids. AAs are amino acids. It helps promote lipolysis. Lipolysis is the breakdown of fat or lipids into energy. And it promotes gluconeogenesis. So growth hormone is affected by gluconeogenesis. And what gluconeogenesis is conversion of protein to fuel. That's one of the dangers of high-intensity interval training, is if your clients, your members are doing too much high-intensity intervals training without enough recovery, their body could go into gluconeogenesis, meaning there's not enough carbohydrate or fat available for fuel. So the body's going to start metabolizing amino acids for fuel. That's one of the recommendations. One of the reasons why we recommend a shorter HIIT class is because over about 40, 45 minutes of work, the body's availability of glucose or glycogen, the immediate energy, goes way down. So if your members are doing a HIIT class for longer than 45 minutes, they're probably metabolizing amino acids for fuel instead of fat or carbohydrate. That's why it's a better idea to keep the HIIT, keep it higher intensity for shorter. And when you look at growth hormone is produced during the REM cycles of sleep. So that's one of the reasons why sleep and the recovery aspect is such an important component of HIIT training. Growth factor is mechanogrowth growth factor, insulin-like growth factor. It's called a couple different things. That's produced in the liver and in the muscle cells. It works with growth hormone. It works on the mechanical rebuilding. It helps repair the damaged muscle fibers. Testosterone, we all know what testosterone is. And this is one of the reasons why we know that a lot of A lot of members coming to the gym might be concerned about having muscles, getting muscles that are too big. Well, let's look at a little physiology. Testosterone is made in the testes. It's a male sex hormone. It's responsible for protein. It helps with protein building muscle fibers. Men produce about 30 times more testosterone than women. Women are much more impacted by growth hormone as a result of high-intensity interval training. Men get much more impact from testosterone. Now, that's a good thing because growth hormone can help the skin look younger. It helps metabolize fat. Testosterone can obviously help with a number of different things. So there are significant benefits for your members 45, 50, and over in terms of an endocrine profile. That's what high-intensity interval training can do. It can elevate levels of growth hormone. It can elevate levels of testosterone. Now, take a look around the anti-aging clinics that are out there. What are they offering? They're offering hormone replacement therapy with testosterone and growth hormone. That's what you can offer in your facility. High-intensity interval training, according to the research, and there's plenty of research on it, high-intensity interval training can help improve these anabolic hormones, growth hormone, growth factor, and testosterone. It'll help improve levels of those hormones in your members and clients ages 40, 45, and up. That's very important. Now, one of the things that's very important too, the same type of high-intensity interval training that helps elevate levels of growth hormone and mechanofactor also elevates levels of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is the most exciting thing of what we're realizing about exercise. If you want a good read, if you want good background on BDNF, pick up the book Spark by Dr. John Rady. That's Spark by Dr. John Rady. It goes into the initial science of BDNF. Also, as you can see down below on the slide here, Brain Rules by John Benita. That's another great book for understanding BDNF and the effect on the body. So what it is, it's a protein that's classified as a neurotrophin. It helps the neurons in the brain stay, quote, young and healthy. It encourages neurogenesis. That means the function of new brain cells. It helps regulate glucose metabolism. And you're seeing that any exercise that elevates BDNF also increases oxygen flow to the brain. So we're not sure. Again, we don't know. When scientists study this stuff, it's really hard to isolate whether the protein BDNF is having an effect on the brain or it's increased oxygen flow to the brain. They're not 100% sure which is having a greater impact, but they observe both. And you can see the statistics there. Regular exercise can significantly reduce the risk of cognitive diseases. Use some other research. Strength training. The top study is relative, it's a strength training. The bottom one is combined strength training and cardiorespiratory training. And I'm not going to read those. You can read those yourself, but look at the effects. Exercise, higher intensity exercise can have a change. It can change the structure and function of the brain. Nobody's walking in your gym to think about that. Most people aren't walking in your gym saying, hey, I want to make my brain stronger today. But that's exactly what's happening. It can improve executive function of how we think, of how we function through the brain. HIIT, and this is some of the research on HIIT. What they're finding, what researchers are finding is that members out there enjoy HIIT because it's shorter. They don't want to do a class for 40 to 60 minutes. They want to get a workout, 20, 30 minutes, boom, get in, get out, and know that they're having an effect on the body. When you see this top study was published in 2016 by Heitz and Associates, and what they found was despite the difficulty of HIIT, the training intensity didn't reduce enjoyment of the exercise, and people liked the results. And look at the protocols were 30 to 60 seconds of work, most enjoyable. The study mentioned that 2 minutes of work was a little bit tough. And again, the shorter, the better. 30 seconds, perfect work interval. Martin Gabala's lab has done a lot of research on 30-30 protocols, and it's very effective. The second research down at the bottom, I think it was published last year in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, published by the NSCA. To me, this is fascinating. Because they had two groups. They had two groups over the course of 16 weeks. Well, they had three groups, a control group. The control group did nothing. But over the course of 16 weeks, you had one group do 12 minutes of exercise a week. They did 3 4-minute Tabata protocols. You had another group do 90 minutes of exercise a week. Guess who saw the better results? 12 minutes. So what would you rather be? Would you rather do 90 minutes of exercise or 12 minutes of exercise? You can answer that question yourself. Let's look at the cognitive benefits. We look at stuff like punching. We look at the dynamic movement. What we realize, again, this is stress on the body. We know the body adapts to stress by becoming stronger. That's, the general adaptation syndrome by Hans Selye years ago identified that. So boxing exercise is great. A lot of cognitive benefits. When you look at that, our box master is created by a boxing coach in Australia by the name of Ray Fazio. What we're finding is the boxing is very reactive. The coaches, what we did with the box master, we put numbers on the pads, so that shortens the time for your coaches to teach punching. You can teach some basic techniques, some basic form, and let people get in there and have some fun hitting the pads. What they're noticing, what you're seeing is that there's a reactivity there. Anytime that you're training, anytime you're using something like that, I can't tell you how many times I teach on the Boxmaster, and you see people kind of pause when you call it a combination, and there's a momentary lapse there because they have to think about that. So training, if you look at it, one of the ways I describe using the Boxmaster, it's like agility training for your hands, right? You have agility ladders, you have the stuff for your feet. You can do all kinds of agility drills. Your coaches can, your trainers can, your instructors can. But what are we doing to do the same type of agility or reactive training for upper body? That's where the Boxmaster can come in. You also have additional movement skills. These are other things that we can add into bobbing, to boxing. We can do head movement. We can do bobbing, ducking, weaving, slipping. You can do all these different movement patterns, right? And where we're seeing this, and you can take a look at this online, look it up, there's something called the Rock Steady program, which was developed a little bit more than 10 years ago. And what that was is a woman was developing Parkinson's, and she realized she started doing boxing and realized that boxing helped her body work against the effects of Parkinson's. She got stronger. She had better control. So what they're realizing is that boxing helps maintain neural function. The multidirectional movements can help improve overall motor skills. And what they're seeing in the Rock Steady program is that boxers are getting better results. Now, this is a great research review that you can find it online. That's when we leave up on here. The end result, this is a review of the literature. Now, literature reviews go through and they look at all the studies out there. So it's kind of like a study of studies. This review, which was published last year in 2018, looked at the research on high-intensity interval training and its effect on producing BDNF. And what they found, going through the literature, that quote down the bottom is that HIIT is a more powerful stimulus to elevate BDNF compared to regular moderate intensity exercise. So if we understand that HIIT training can elevate levels of BDNF, and if we know that BDNF improves cognitive function, you can legitimately say that the programs that you have in your club will help members reduce the risk of developing dementia. They will help members reduce the risk of developing Alzheimer's. Now, we can't say it eliminates it. That's not appropriate at all. But the evidence is there that you can talk about HIIT training and high-intensity interval training as a way to slow cognitive decline. And plus, because they elevate the anabolic hormones responsible for muscle growth, you can legitimately, 100%, the science is there, you can say that the exercise programs at your facility can help slow down the aging process. It allows people to be younger for longer, allows them to retain their youth, allows them to retain their energy. That's what the science is showing us. That's one of the reasons why Stairmasters put so much effort and so much work into our HIIT package. These are just some of our HIIT equipment. We have that's the SVA, our sound and vibration platform on the left. That is really cool. That's under our Nautilus brand. If you have platforms in your gym and you can't stand the sound of weights being dropped, and it's a danger, dropped weights will bounce up maybe a meter in the air. You can drop 200 pounds on the ground, it might drop a meter in the air. Well, our new SVA platform there in the picture absorbs that shock, absorbs that vibration. The upper right-hand corners are HIIT Mill X. That's a self-powered treadmill. The lower right-hand corners are HIIT upper body ergometer. The lower left-hand corners are HIIT bike. We also have our HIIT rower. We have the gauntlet. We have a variety of options. And there are a number of options you have in your facility. This is just what Stairmaster produces. And we have the education that can help your facility, help your coaches, instructors learn how to do this. This is a coaching continuum that we teach. The exercise determines the intensity, and the intensity determines the time. And you've heard me talk about that. When it comes to HIIT, the work part isn't as important as the recovery part. Well, let me restate that. The work part is very important if it's done at the right intensity, which is the highest possible. And if members are doing the highest possible intensity, they need an appropriate amount of recovery. The recommended recovery is about a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 work-to-rest ratio. So if they have high-intensity intervals at 30 seconds, there should probably be a recovery anywhere from 60 to 120 seconds to give a recovery. That's why circuit training for high-intensity interval programs is so effective. And there are a number of different ways to organize high-intensity interval training programs, and there are different ways to do that. There's no one right way, but what we try to teach with the Stairmaster education are the different ways that work. Here's a sample workout using our Boxmaster. We have 90-second rounds. And keep in mind that some of the ways we can structure rounds, and I like to do this, and different coaches do things differently, is if I'm teaching a 90-second round, I want the first 30 seconds to kind of be learning the pattern. I want the second 30 seconds to kind of be picking up the pace, and I want that final 30 seconds to be going all out. That's where you get a great benefit. And we know that we need to have an active recovery exercise between each round. We need to allow for transition. And we give recommendations for the active recovery exercises. And finally, we go through the stretching and how to cool down. We cover these teaching points, how to be safe. Because high-intensity interval training can be dangerous, whether it's boxing or other types of workout. We go through the safety. This is stuff that we cover. Safety is paramount. Because let's face it, yes, high-intensity interval training can produce results, but because it is high intensity, it's a lot of stress on the body. So it's very important that your coaches know how to coach this proper safety procedures and how to monitor your members so they're much lower risk of injury. We can't eliminate injury, but with the right training and the right mindset, the coaches can be paying attention to ensure that your members stay healthy so they keep coming back day after day. Finally, one of the most important things to understand about high-intensity interval training is it can trigger something called the flow state. And this is pretty cool. Flow state was identified by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. That's a very tough name to pronounce. But Csikszentmihalyi realized a number of years ago the power of positive psychology. The flow state is when we're fully immersed in the actions of the moment. So think about that. When have you been involved in a workout? When have you been involved something that you really enjoy? Maybe your hobby, maybe going for a run, and you get lost. You lose time. Next thing you know, wait, it's done? That's the flow state. What you're trying to do is you're trying to initiate peak performance to trigger peak experience. In order to get the flow state, in order to trigger the flow state, you need to challenge people. You want to bend but not break. That's why I have the picture of the Red Bull team there. To do the stunts that they do, they have to hit the flow state. And there are ways that you can do that. What the flow state does is it removes distracting thoughts. So think about that. How awesome would that be? Members come into your club, they're doing a HIIT workout, they're doing a high-intensity workout. It's challenging, it's fun, it's creative. Next thing they know, 30 minutes is over, boom, they're drenched in sweat, they're high-fiving the instructor, they're high-fiving their friends, and they're walking out. That's the power of knowing how to create the flow state. People lose track of time, they get that positive benefit. So that's really where, if you understand that, how to initiate the flow triggers and how to initiate that response, your employees, your coaches, trainers, instructors will be able to gauge your members on a whole different level. So that's what we have with Stairmaster HIIT. We have different solutions that can help you and your facility. We have online education. We have live education. The online education is there. Live education can be organized through Rebecca Holt. She's a territory manager for the Mid-Atlantic region. I'm the lead master trainer for Stairmaster, Pete McCall. If you have any questions about the science, you can obviously reach out to me. If you have any questions at all about the HIIT equipment, HIIT programming by Stairmaster, by all means, please reach out to Ms. Holt. She'll be more than happy to take those questions. Thanks for tuning in on this edition of. Thanks for tuning in for this Stairmaster presentation. I'm Pete McCall, and this has been the Benefits of HIIT on Cognitive Function.